I made this presentation in Miro. I thought it was the easiest way to convey the message today. But basically, who am I? Martijn. I'm working at Craftzing. I'm a business and concept designer. What's in a name? But basically, yeah, I operate on gut feeling and good intentions, I think, as a lot of us. Do I have all the knowledge? No. But I like to experiment with new tools, new ideas, new concepts, and so on. And AI is one of those things. We see it all around us. There are a lot of people talking about AI, but it's oftentimes very hard to actually implement AI or use it in your daily work. Maybe a little anecdote, but I use ChatGPT quite a lot, like very, very much. I use it for everything in my daily life. A couple of days ago, I had problems with a water pump to pump up rainwater. It wasn't working anymore, so I take a picture and ask ChatGPT, what do I need to do? And I get an answer, and a good answer. And that's basically the thing that triggers you. You use it in everyday life and you get good answers. And you start to ask yourself, if I use this in my job, will I get good answers as well? So that is important. I did a little experiment because it's quite a hot topic in the company too. Maybe a little context about the experiments. It's oftentimes very hard when you need to start a new project, and especially when you start a lot of projects simultaneously. And it's oftentimes in domains and industry you are not familiar with. You're just thrown into the water and you need to swim. And I noticed before using AI, it was oftentimes very hard to get up and running, to get up to speed with a client or a topic and so on. So I hope the AI could help me in that way. Also, you don't always have a lot of access to stakeholders and end users. They oftentimes don't have a lot of times. We had a small conversation about design sprints earlier this evening, like 5 weeks, 5 days. Who's available for 5 days in their agenda? So you have very little access to these people. And oftentimes a project has big ambitions, but maybe not the biggest budget, so how can we leverage the time you have to output the best results? And that's basically the main question I had. How can we use AI to get the most of our time, knowledge, and resources, basically? And to stress this is not a step-by-step, and this is not something you can just copy and follow. But I think it's frameworks and ways of thinking that are important today. Maybe a little bit about constraints. We work in a big organization, and you want to avoid complexity and costs, subscription costs. You can't subscribe to every tool out there. Every tool costs quite some money. So that is a constraint. Another constraint is that you want to know what you are doing. For example, you can use an AI tool and feed data into an AI tool and get something out of it, but you don't know how it works. What the mechanics are behind the tool that spits out these results for you. So that was for me an important thing to know how it works and how I can manipulate it. Another thing maybe to to talk about is philosophy. Something that Jeff Bezos says, because a quote needs to be in a presentation, is if you're 70% sure, go ahead. And we don't need to wait until we have all research perfectly fine. The moment your gut feeling says I'm in the right direction and I have the feeling that what I am doing is not the complete opposite of what I think we need to go into, you just need to jump. And that's also the thing with AI. You oftentimes hear, yeah, AI can hallucinate and it's not always 100% right, but you need to ask yourself the question, does it need to be? It's especially when you start on a project, it's often the blank slate, the white paper. That's a very hard moment, and if you can have a jump start, even with 70% right, you are already far ahead of what you might be otherwise. I used the process on a rather small project, and it always starts with a kickoff and a client brief, and they basically had a short-term goal. We want to create and validate a concept and address the challenges in the platform we have today. So they already have some type of platform that we need to improve. It's basically a well-being platform that wants to make employees in the food industry move more or be healthier by moving. And they had a basic platform, but again, you get thrown into a project, health industry, food industry. I don't have affinity with the food industry. The other thing is like a moving platform. What does it mean, a moving? We all know Strava maybe, and platforms like that. Do I need to consider things like that? So basically, the very first step I took there is doing research, desk research. And maybe to step back a little bit, concerning desk research, what did I use as tools is Google Gemini was one of the tools. Perplexity was one of the tools. ChatGPT, and especially O3 reasoning, very important because of the context window. If you are going to work with lots of data, you need to have a big context window, otherwise it will forget at the end of the conversation what it said earlier. That's quite important, and Claude was one of the four. But I basically started with Google Gemini and especially deep research. And for those who haven't used it yet, you see a nice emoji. This is quite, for me and for people who want to learn, quite liberating. You can ask a question like, I want to build a moving platform, a health platform for the food industry. Can you do research about it? Very simple question. It's not elaborate, but the thing is, it's going to come up with a research plan. It's going to have a bulleted list of, first I'm going to investigate specific physical and mental health risk in the food industry. So it really makes a plan of what to research. And you can evaluate that plan, and you can steer that plan. You can adjust the plan and with extra prompts say, no, I'm more looking into that direction or that direction. It will update the plan. And when you do this, you can say, start research. What does this give you? And that's quite interesting. What does this give you? That is a really in-depth research report. And with in-depth, I mean 30, 35 pages about the topic. It's really, really elaborate. If I really scroll really fast. This is really a report, tables, everything you need about the topic, all with references of websites it used and so on. You also see one tool I started to use quite a lot is digital marker. You get so much information that you really need to use digital marker to highlight the things that stand out for you. And that is one of the things you see me doing here, and what AI is very, very good at is basically data expansion. You start with nothing and you expand. And that's one of the drawbacks. A lot of data can be thrown at you, like a lot. It spits out data, super relevant, but a lot. So basically, it's insanely fast. It can take up to 30 minutes before you get an answer. So it doesn't feel as insanely fast, but considering if you need to do all of this yourself, it's gonna take days, maybe weeks to come up with this. What we also did is just share it with stakeholders. We don't hold it back like, oh, we have this little nuggets of information. We just share it and say, if you have the time, read the report, because the things that are in here are super, super valuable, even for them. I made 2 reports, a platform for the health industry, but also a report or a research question, like what might be the mechanics in such a platform? What are all the drivers? What engages people in health platforms, well-being platforms to take action, to start to move, to have the community feeling, and so on. So you can not only research about industries, but also about topics that are relevant for the project you are working on. So that gives you quite a deep dive. We took it even further on another project. I won't go too much into detail about this, but what you see here is generated in a couple of days. And what you see here is competitor analysis of 7 competitors, full report of all the competitors, weaknesses, strengths, things they focus on, target audiences, and so on. What you also see here is process flows of all these competitors. Like these are SaaS products. Like, what is the complete process flow of their SaaS product? Like customer journey. So you see it's a lot of text. That is also a thing. Like, all these tools spit out text. You need to see past this, because the things that are in here are broken down process flows. We made them visual, so it's more understandable, and you can see it at a glance how it works, but you can get so much information out of this. Also, target audiences in comparable tables. We know their needs. We know their top task. We know their frustrations, the gaps that there are. This is starting from a blank slate. In 2 days, take it a week, you get this. And this is an amazing start for a project that otherwise would take weeks, or maybe you wouldn't even have the time to have access to this. So it's really data expansion, you can call this. So basically from the research from the health platform, what also helps is, and I write it here, deep conversational. So we have in Gemini deep research, we get a report, but then we start we need to condense this information, writing down platform vision, platform mission, the target audiences, the challenges that are there. We need to be crystal clear, and that is another thing that things like ChatGPT and Gemini can help you with, is write very clear briefs for yourself. I can't write this good, absolutely not, and it makes you think more clear. So you can use it as a sparring partner. I don't know how you guys form your ideas. I do it by conversation. I need to talk to people, and by talking to people, I form ideas, I form insights, I form direction and see, indeed, maybe this direction I need to go. This is a compass. AI allows me to do it at home. Allows me to have a conversation, have the sparring partner, and enlighten me and make the brain work. It's very good at synthesizing findings. That is, instead of expanding AI data, it's condensing data, writes very clearly, but it also can help you prioritize. What do I need to focus on first? And that is something that helps you a lot. For example, we had 3 main target audience. The question is, which target audience are we going to focus on? We need to make a prototype, but you know, you can't make a prototype for every target audience and attack every possible flow there is. You need to prioritize which challenge are we going to tackle for which audience, and which flow are we going to tackle. It helps you tremendously in that process. We also show this to stakeholders. We go through this because, again, AI doesn't need to be 100% right. It can be 70% right, as long as you align with your team, align with stakeholders, go to the platform mission, platform vision. Is this right? Is this clear enough? Does everybody understands this? Target audiences, are these the target audiences, and are these the problems we are trying to solve? So in that regard, it helps a lot. So you see priorities, principles, super hard. Ask ChatGPT, come up with principles, and start a conversation. You can build them. Other things, like supporting topics for the health platform, for example, is like physical activity, good nutrition. What are all the mechanics I need to take in consideration? Motivation, mechanisms, different levels of participation. These are all things that help you think about when trying to understand it. Now, once you are aligned with stakeholders, again, you can, through deep conversation, have solutions. You can generate solutions. It's very good and it generates solutions. It's, again, a back and forth. It's solutions. You see it tied to target audience, tied to the challenges that are there. You also see importance and the potential. You can use ChatGPT to just throw out numbers. Is it correct? Maybe not. But you already have like a good idea of, yeah, maybe if you look at it, priorities are right. And you can use it to generate for a specific target audience, a specific challenge. You can create the happy flow that you want to make your prototype around. This is basically happy flow. This is quite long. And for every step in the happy flow, we have also focus points. Again, all generated with just ChatGPT or Google Gemini. These are not specific tools. What is hard, it's the prompting. prompting is very hard. The reason it's very hard, and it's quite interesting, I just, when I drove to Antwerp this morning, I listened to a podcast about AI, and it's basically the analogy. In the early days of computers, you had even cards with little holes in. These were the programs. And then you had programming languages. They were very simple, but they evolved, being more and more complex. And the most recent programming languages are very natural. There's a lot of natural language in them. Now we took a step further and we made it natural language. So prompting is basically code. It's basically software. If you prompt or make a prompt, you make a little piece of software. It's just not in the coding language that we are used to, but it's really a new language in which we are trying to make these platforms understand what we want as output. Now, this is basically data expansion, this whole part. Now, we take it a little bit further. We are making prototypes. The prototypes we made was by using Bolt. Maybe you heard of Bolt, maybe you heard of Lovable. They are all a little bit the same. Basically prototyping platforms that claim that you can, by natural language, create working, coded prototypes. Lovable, Replit, we use Bolt. And basically the goal there is, again, to quickly create a prototype that feels real and intuitive and interactive. And what is also the thing, as a UX designer, you are used to work, for example, in Figma or any other tool, and you are doing very manual work, and you're always wondering, is this the best route I took? Is this the best path? Is this the best solution? They can surprise you quite a lot. The ideas that come out of these programs or software tools. Now, not necessarily for this, the concept could be very rough, because the next step is concept testing for us. And we basically want to know, are we going in the right direction with the solutions for a certain target audience? So we don't user test this, we concept tested this. So it's black and white, it's very rough around the edges. But again, we made this in a couple of days. One of the things is, when you start using tools like this, it feels like magic. You give a prompt, I want to make a well-being health platform for the food industry, hopla. And it creates something. But the next steps are very, very hard. And you need to have a different mindset when using these tools, because the initial prototype gives you a wow feeling, but trying to adjust and steer the prototype in the right direction, that is incredibly hard. It's so hard that you sometimes want to give up. And it's because of different reasons. I don't know who has a ChatGPT subscription. You pay $20 and you can basically use it indefinitely without much restrictions. If you use a platform like this, you also pay $20 a month, but you get 10 million tokens. So you give $20 to get credit back. But you can get in loops, indefinite loops. You ask something, this is not right. It tries to change something, but it changed nothing. And you see your credits like dropping like crazy. This can cost you a lot of money if you don't approach it the right way. And what is approaching it the right way? It's really writing out a product requirements document step by step and tackling everything you want to create step by step. Every little thing you need to approach like contained and build logic upon that. But like saying, I want this app, and it's going to feel like magic, but when you try to adjust things, it's a horror. Maybe I didn't try it. Figma Make might be better. Figma Make is, I think, in beta right now. What might make it better is that you can design in Figma and adjust on the designs. You still have, I think, more control. You don't have much control unless you are a developer. That's another story. You can do a lot more. Now, the next step we took is basically taking screenshots of all the screens in the prototype. We upload the screenshots and we basically tell ChatGPT make us a test script based on the screenshots. I don't do concept tests, user tests daily, constantly, but from what I can say, this test script was spot on. It didn't change a thing about the test script. So it recognizes all the different parts in your application. It recognizes all functionality in your application, and it makes a test script piece by piece, flow by flow, and very relevant questions based on your prototype. So that again, you can use ChatGPT or any tool for. What you can also use it for is obviously to write your invite emails for test users. All these things you can write. What we then did is Google Meet meeting recordings and use MacWhisper for transcripts. So basically you can put your recordings into MacWhisper. For those who don't know, it runs locally on your computer. You can just drop videos in the tool and it's going to transcribe. You can also choose your model. And why do I use MacWhisper? Because it's changing so fast, but when we used it, Dutch was a very difficult language to transcribe. But again, it's already tools like Granola, for example, already transcribe very well in Dutch, but not at the time. And basically, when you have your transcripts, you hit the jackpot then. You have everything you need. And that is basically arching story here. If you have a transcript, I did a lot of concept tests and a lot of user tests the past months. You can automate this. You can automate everything about this. You can, from the transcript, create agents. It's basically, in Google Gemini, you have gems. It's a little bit like GPTs. You can do sentiment analysis on your transcripts. And you will get a full report, the positives, the negatives about the concept, all points there. But this is a black box. If you use a GPT like the one in Google Gemini, you don't know how it came to the results. So I tried also to use ChatGPT 03. Basically say, as a product designer, you need to report on your concept tests, what's the most effective structure. That is already a priming question. I don't ask for a report, I ask for the best structure for the report. You can do this with everything in the whole process, even in the researching process. And that's also a very nice thing. If you don't know a certain method or activity or workshop format or so, you can ask for it and have a breakdown of that and learn a new skill. You can convert the report to outline. So if you have the structure, you can ask, write a prompt for this. And if you have that prompt, you can apply the prompt on your transcriptions, and you will get a very elaborate output, like how the concept test was run, the scenarios and tasks, all the themes that are there, the methodology, how you categorize, certain forms of coding your themes and so on, use of quotes, quantifying if possible, structure and insights. You get a huge report out of it. And by using it a lot, you really see that this is an opportunity. You can decide as a team what the desired output is, because that's also a strategy for using AI, like deciding what is the exact output we want. Like if we have a user interview, how do we want the report to look like? And if you know that, you can work backwards. You can say, okay, what would be the prompt that is needed to get that output? Because the most important thing about this is you want consistency in your team. You want every report to be the same. And that's the huge challenge using AI models, is to have consistent output. And if you can decide as a team on this output, write and test prompts as a teams on the models you know, define your workflow, you can automate this. You can say, this is my repository. If a video drops in that folder on the drive, you automatically need to check if a video is posted there, automatically make a transcript of it, make a sentiment analysis, profile it, and so on. And that is basically what you see a trend in the market, is basically dedicated tools are jumping into the gaps there. Conveo is a tool like this. Maybe some of you already encountered this. This is fully automated user interviews. Even the user interviews are automated by AI. It means that you can automate it. If you find the right prompts for the right outputs and the right reports, you can automate this process. And it leaves us a lot more time to focus on the actual interviews. You can basically, maybe, it's an assumption that user interviews are qualitative. Maybe you can make it quantitative by just focusing on the interviews and see a lot more people in the time you have available, and let all this thing being automated. Now, maybe to close, just a few hours before the presentation, I also used Notebook LM. And one of the reasons I use Notebook LM, it's from Google too. How it works, you can put all your transcripts into Notebook LM, and it's going to use your transcripts as source material. The reason I started to use it is because all these reports that I got from Gemini, ChatGPT, they were all very fancy. And they were spot on, but something made me uncomfortable. And it was, one of the users in the interview had mentioned Fitcoins, and it is a government initiative for the food industry. It's like rewarding people with Fitcoins when they had a healthy lifestyle. And not one of the reports I came across Fitcoins. So the reports were all spot on, but I somehow lacked depth and detail. And that depth and detail I got in Notebook LM, because somehow, and that is again black box, all the rest all the other reports I could create with my own prompts. This is black box. I don't know what Notebook LM does somehow, but the output is far beyond everything I had for user interviews or concept tests than the other tools. And it's basically, it creates a whole visual map of all your transcripts you have. You can select the topics that interest you. And in Notebook LM, I found in my final report the topic about Fitcoins. And it was spot on in the right category and the right theme. And that again comes back to trust. Do you miss details when using AI? Do you need to be considerative about the output? I think so. You need to be director, and you need to be human in the loop to really challenge the output. And if something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. And this confirmed my suspicion I had with the output. Could I go further with the output? Perfectly. But this confirmed that details matter. And what made this absolutely fantastic is you can chat with your transcripts. So if you are not sure if something, or you recall someone saying something somewhere, you can ask for it and it will bring it up. And it will also reference, like all the little icons are references to the actual transcripts with the actual quotes of the people. So that was basically the test. I'm gonna use AI a lot more, definitely. This was from white page until prototype and having test reports, and every step of the way AI used. So.
All right. That was, yeah, you definitely triggered me to explore a lot more, I can say. We have still room for a couple more questions, but I first want to kick off one question in the beginning. So you mentioned, and I think it's also good philosophy to have, like, AI can generate a lot of good things and maybe some parts, yeah, that are not so good, but 70% is already a lot. But what was your strategy to find out what are the things that AI absolutely has to nail in a project, and do you still trust the AI completely in that, or do you feel like I need to double check this myself?
Maybe trusting AI or untrusting AI. It changes very rapidly. And a couple of months ago, I already experimented with the user interview transcripts. I wasn't super happy about them then, but that is only a couple of months ago. And the quality now is a lot better than I had then. So it moves incredibly fast. So the quality gets better and better. And I always tell myself, the output I get now is the worst output I will ever get. And that is some perspective that, yeah, if that is an answer to the question.
Yeah. Yeah, it does clarify some things. Are there any other questions from the audience? Yes.
So to go back about the little story about the Fitcoins, that was a detail that you missed in the process, even though you feed it back to the AI and in the end it detected it, from what I understand. My question is also about trust. Are you not afraid that at some point, when the process is going to be satisfying for you and you're going to give it full trust, that over time, you're going to pay less attention to the result, you will have less control of the output, basically we will become lazy, totally trusting the thing and missing some very important key that could lead over time to a reduced quality of work?
Absolutely, I think so. That also spurs the question of do you as a team need to have full control over the prompting behind the scenes? Because it might be the same question if are you going to use SaaS tools, for example, that do everything for you and trust whatever company is putting behind the scenes in the black box. Are you going to trust that company? Are you going to trust the prompting and the instructions behind it and the output it gives? Or are you going to want as a team to be able to control the prompt and the instructions and the output so you can frequently assess the output? But it's yeah, very right. What we are probably are going to become lazy. I don't have the answer to that. I really don't have that. Yeah.
Right. Rita, yeah, you had one more.
Actually, it's more than one question, but I will ask one of them and ask another ones in the break. And by the way, in that time, I rewrite all of my question with GPT. The first one is how do you control the security of data of the client? Because I faced with it many times. For example, Notebook LM, exactly they mentioned we don't use the data to train. But when you go to the privacy and policy, you see they said, we don't use it to train that model, but we use it to train, like, but these days it's not really popular to put some rules like this in the contract, but I'm sure in the future clients get more like obsessed about the security of the data, because many people put like a lot of employees put the data in free versions, and some of even a premium version train with that data. And some of them, like the interview and another one, are really not really, but they're confidential. How do you handle the security? Like I don't know, in the contract or somewhere else?
Not at the moment. And that's really a legit question. Also, in our company, it's coming up because every individual is using tools. Are they indeed GDPR, or do they consider user data? We as a company use the Google Suite, so we can basically use the tools within that suite. Concerning the interviews, I try to anonymize them in ChatGPT. I don't mention like names and everything. So data might be trained, but not without user data. So that's another thing. Do you have people's names? Do you post them and put them in the tools? But it's a legit concern. It's the same like Bold, Lovable, Replit. Lovable is European, I think. We also got a question, why did you use Bold and not Lovable? Because Lovable is European and might be more secure. But these are all very legit questions that probably will have a tighter control within companies too, absolutely.
Right. Right, unfortunately, we don't have more time for questions, but if you still would have a question, feel free to speak to Martijn. Martijn, thank you so much for sharing this with us.